We're going to turn back to Colonel Mary Eisen once more to continue our discussion about the escalating war in the north. We've been hearing rumblings that Israel has given a soft deadline of the end of this month for there to be a political solution before military operations against Hezbollah could escalate significantly. Is Hezbollah's attacks this morning unveiling some longer range and more destructive weapons in their arsenal meant as a message against that sort of statement, or is this just the natural escalation of things?
The escalation has been going on for literally the last 4 months. From October 7th, Hezbollah has been in. Let's be clear to everybody. Hezbollah has attacked inside Israel every single day from October 7th. They've used all the variety of weapons, suicide drones, anti-tank guided missiles, very advanced type of missiles, UAVs, going in, going out, rockets, mortars, every type you want, Ariel, they fired against us over the last 4 months. When we talk about the ones that they've been doing over the last few days, they've used them already in the past. They're continuing to do so. Are they in that sense, upgrading? Perhaps they're trying to deter Israel. That is announced quite clearly that we're not going to let them continue to hold this enormous cache of weapons that has been given to them by Iran, of these very high quality type weapons, to sit on the other side of the northern border and act as if they can decide what's going to happen inside Israel. I'd like, if possible, a moment to address something that was said before about the attacks in the West Bank. Is that okay?
Certainly.
So in these different attacks that we've seen, and I know nothing about them no more than what was said before, but what I do know is that over the last month of January, we have been in the Institute monitoring different Telegram channels. You know, there's WhatsApp, there's Telegram, different Telegram channels that have been very active in telling youth, go out, stab, kill, mow down, meaning they've actually had Telegram little videos, different ways that are put in there in the Telegram channels that have been saying, go out and participate in the fight. So I don't know in that sense of a coincidence that there were two different ones today, but this is something that has been actively happening in social media, in the West Bank, in Telegram channels. It's not like it's just on the West Bank over the last month. So horribly for me, I'm not surprised when you actively tell people, here's how to do it. Go and take the house knife, the machete, whatever you have in the house, take the car, go and mow down. Who's the target? And it says clearly the target is soldiers, or the alternative, this is the way it's defined in these Arabic-speaking Telegram channels, go and find somebody who's Jewish. Jewish, that usually means somebody who looks Jewish. And I'm just adding that in because I do expect, sadly, more attacks of what are lone wolves, but they're being very incited inside social media Telegram channels.
What you're talking about is effectively a coordinated network of lone wolves that are being organized in a distributed network here. Is there a counter to that sort of activity?
So it isn't a network. What it is information. As an Ariel, you go online and all of us go on and we scroll. And when we're in our different Telegram channels, we choose which ones we're in. And in those Telegram channels, it's saying, hello, are you, 18 years old and you want to do something effective? Here's how you can do it as a single person, meaning it's a manual or an instructions for those potential lone wolves. If you're already radicalized, if you already feel that you want to do something, it's telling you how to do it. What can we do against it? There's very little that you can do against social platforms like WhatsApp and Telegram because they're not monitored. You can't take down that content. So what I'm doing right now is I'm telling people, beware, be aware of that. Certainly the Israeli security apparatus, all of them are very aware of this challenge that's come out of the social media channels, and all of us need to be aware of it right now.
Well, thank you. Stay with us. We're going to be discussing many more topics with you. I'm going to return to end our show with some more of the security analysis. I know that we've had you sitting very quietly in the background, Miri, for the last 10 minutes or so. So I do want to look ahead at the day after. We've been discussing the massive escalation. We've been discussing the discordance and unknown positions of the Israeli government on what's going to happen. But we are moving ever closer to that day after. We have Israeli forces moving through Khan Yunis as we speak, Rafah being one of the last bastions of Hamas. How close are we to the day after, and what's Israel still missing to complete that picture?
We're still a long way from the day after. We're talking about this year, about 2024, and it may break my heart and everybody's heart who wants to be in a war, but to be able to systematically go after that Hamas structure underground, above ground, the weapons, the caches of weapons, and to be able to do so, you cannot knock down everything. We're not killing everybody. We're allowing people to live, all the different aspects that have to do with Israel being part of all of the world in that sense. And as such, the next stage of Rafah is going to be even more difficult than what we saw in Khan Yunis. Israel pretty much tried to empty the amount of Palestinians that were in the northern Gaza Strip, and then they moved into the center and south. And now from Khan Yunis, moving them to both the seashore and the Rafah area. But what that means, Ariel, is that when we want to approach that, it is going to have 2 million people. I don't think that any of those people are Zionists, and I don't mean to be so sarcastic on the air, but they are people and they are human beings, and over 2 million of them. And as a military, you cannot act in the same way in an area that has 2 million people. That's what we've been trying to avoid until now. It will be in our face when we try to take care of that last bastion, the area of Rafah.
What's that going to look like then if we have to change tactics to accommodate for that sort of reality on the ground? What sort of losses is Israel going to take if they can no longer rely on the heavy air support that has marked the entire campaign?
It's not just the air support, it's also the actions of the ground forces themselves, because you're going to be in an urban area that you've told people to leave, and at that stage you don't have any place to go to, so that you're doing it in an urban area. Until now, we've told citizens to leave, we've told civilians to leave, and so Hamas could try to hide behind them, but the bulk of them have left. Those that have stayed are usually really at the end the ones that are part of the families of the Hamas terror fighters themselves. So yes, we're talking about visuals that I don't want to think of, moral decisions that I don't want to have to think about. I give you an offer, Ariel. How about we'll tell Hamas to surrender? Okay, that's not going to happen. So let's tell the international community to find a way so Hamas will not have its underground capabilities, its cache of weapons. They're not going to do that. And sadly, that means a harsh battle that will take a very long time.
Only 1 minute left on that very last topic with the international community. We have seen the fury of that community when Israel has taken the steps it has already taken to avoid collateral damage. It is going to mount incredibly in the Battle of Rafah.
And not only that, we ourselves, and I say this, Ariel, that we have to face it in that sense. Part of what's going to happen to us, our younger generation, in targeting the terrorists, but in killing uninvolved civilians, the numbers are definitely going to get to a stage where we are going to have to think what that means about our tactics on the ground. I see it as being something different at that stage.
Mary, thank you very much for explaining the very difficult task ahead.